Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Three Geeks conversation. I'm joined today by Joseph Culp. Joseph, what made you want to be an actor?
Why don't we just get right to the point?
Right to it, yeah.
What made me want to be an actor? Well, I suppose on some level I always was acting, was performing since I was a little kid, doing puppet shows and trying to generally entertain the troops. But surely it has a lot to do with environment. Nature plus nurture. So in my case, I was nurtured in an environment where I grew up with an actor, a very famous actor, my father, Roger Culp, star of screen and small and big. And so my house was a place where that was possible, where it was certainly supported to get up and sing a song or make a little show. And my dad built me a puppet theater when I was very small, and and I watched him, on the screen growing up. So it was okay. It was like that was something to do. You could be characters. You could learn lines and live other lives, and generally play for most of your life for a living. And so, that's really in a nutshell. My dad gave me a love of genre stuff from the early days of monsters, science fiction, because he did a lot of different shows like that, such as The Outer Limits, for example, where in the early 60s, and I saw that when I was a little kid, and I was like, wow, And then he was a star of this show called I Spy, where he was an international spy running around the world. So, all of it conspired. And by the time I was in my, sort of early teens, I felt it was, the calling was there. I couldn't avoid it. Many people would say maybe you should have done something else, been a scientist or invented a cure for something. But I couldn't help it, and started doing school plays and being very passionate about that. And then eventually, studying acting in New York and doing theater, and then eventually finding my way into, TV and movies. So, it was all nature and nurture.
Do you feel pressure going into acting, with your father having been an actor and some pretty big stuff?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Pressure. Well, what kind of pressure? I guess certainly, it's a problem, because if you feel you want to be in that same business, any business, I imagine, but particularly show business. My dad had reached, certainly a level of stardom and celebrity. And that is something that doesn't always, is not guaranteed, You might even, if you're lucky, you become a working actor and you are able to ply your craft and find joy in that. It's a very small percent that, go into the stratosphere, as we know. And so the pressure would be, do I have what it takes? And, do I have to match that? And that's a hard shadow to live under, no question. There isn't any son or daughter of will tell you the same. It's like, it's there. Mm-hmm. My dad never held it over me. He was encouraging, but not so much. He wasn't saying immediately like, yeah, you got to do this. It's so there was a level of excellence that I think he sought in his life. And I certainly sought the same level. And I had to eventually, I think, content myself with thinking, well, there are some things that maybe I can do that my dad doesn't do, that make me unique. And, there are things that he'll do that I will never do, So we all become, the most we can, hopefully, with our talent, whatever it is. And I'm still pursuing that about my talent, whether it's through acting or filmmaking or songwriting or any of the things I like to do.
That's awesome. Do you remember your first audition and booking The Greatest American Hero?
Well, my first audition, I had many auditions before that, in particular in theater, of course, and I feel good about that because I really did love the art of theater, and I still do theater to this day. I write and perform for the stage. Greatest American Hero was, so the story is this. My brother Jason is also an actor, and we were both young men studying acting and trying to get work in New York in the early 80s. And, pounding the pavement, so to speak, and trying to learn, what this art was all about. My father, Robert, at that time, had Greatest American Hero going. And he, many people don't know this about him, but my dad was a writer also. And so I got a lot of instruction and things about writing from him. And so he wrote episodes of the shows that he did. And in Greatest American Hero, he wrote a couple of them. And one of them he wrote, and he wanted to, it's the only time you could say I ever experienced any kind of nepotism, I guess. He wanted to put his sons in the show. He said, so he wrote these two roles for my brother and I to play. Would never happen today, but we were playing Latin American characters who were caught in a war in their country, and they were against each other, so we were rivals. And he wrote the two roles for us, and we still had to come out. We came out from LA to LA. We had to audition. Did my dad have something to say about it? I mean, did the casting and the producer go like, well, it's Culp's kids. I guess he wants them in there. But, we proved that we could handle it. And so we got to do the show. And it's the only time he ever threw a bone to me or my brother. And we took the bone and we ate it up, and we got some experience. So I'm always grateful for him that he did that. He could do it. I would do the same if it were my son, I think. I have a son who I try to encourage with his creative work. So, there are times when parents will do that. It didn't guarantee any kind of career or any kind of, at that time, you did a guest star on a TV show. We had fun, we learned a lot, and we went on. And then I started booking my own shows, and all of that. So that's how that happened, and it was fun. It was a great experience.
That sounds fun. So
a bit nerve-wracking being directed by your own father in something he wrote, telling you to, don't look at the floor, look at him, like saying stuff and feeling like, oh God, I better get this right, and feeling kind of humiliated all at the same time. It was quite the full experience.
I bet that does sound like fun though. So I'm from the generation that was really anticipating the Fantastic Four when it was supposed to be coming out, and I'm part of the generation that acquired a copy of it through means back in the day. But what was the experience like getting that role as Doctor Doom?
Well, yes, that is the role I am most known for, and rather, infamously or notoriously, because it's one of the strangest stories in Hollywood history. A whole movie gets made, and though some people would like to say, well, it was never intended to be seen, that's not actually true. But if Roger Corman had his way, it would have absolutely been released. But he had to give up that right to the company that bought it back from him. So the Fantastic Four, small budget. It's 1992. The German producer Bernd Eichinger, who has the rights to the Fantastic Four comic to make a film, will lose those rights unless he goes into production. He hires Roger Corman. Roger Corman says, "Okay, we'll do it." He commissions a script. Craig Nevius writes that script. They hire Ole Sassoon to direct it. There's there's a budget that you couldn't make, you couldn't make anything. We're going to make the Fantastic Four. My agent calls me. I'm like, what? Who is making the Fantastic Four? You mean the comic from my childhood that I really loved? It's the only one I ever really liked in a way. I wasn't a huge comic book fan. I was more movie fan. Spider-Man, sure, but I knew Fantastic Four. And and you would play Doctor Doom. So I went down and looked at issues of Doctor Doom. I got it. Okay, I think I got this. And I went in and I auditioned for it. I was only, what was I? I was 30 at the time. So, I was the right age, I think. And the story I often tell, which is true, is that I wore a long Australian oilskin duster that went all the way to my feet. And it had this kind of armor-like thing going on, or like a cape, possibly. And it was pouring rain in Los Angeles. And I just thought, I'm wearing this, and it's going to give me a certain permission to just be epic and be a tyrant and be a maniacal genius. And so I went in and called upon all of my theater training and tried to just blow the roof off as Dr. Doom. And it worked. And Ole Sassoon said, that's the guy. He's our guy. It's the mixture of grandeur, a bit of tragedy, a bit of, narcissism. And he encouraged me to go as far as I could. And that's a wonderful thing for a young actor to be told. Because most of us who are so-called method sort of actors are very concerned with being real and whatever that means, and when you're playing an epic character like Dr. Doom, you have to really trust that, the size is what matters, so to speak. And you will fill that size with every shred of emotion and everything. And it is real. It's just on a different scale. And so I thought about all the actors I loved, from Laurence Olivier and Albert Finney and these grand actors who could do that kind of thing. And I tried to just, to fill those shoes. And the key with our film that I always say is that, because we didn't have the budget and the special effects, we knew it was all about the characters and their relationship to each other. And that's ultimately what we, as an audience, want to follow. And that we were not trying to bring it down to ourselves, but rather bring ourselves up to the level of the comic and show as much as we could the spirit of that original comic book. And that's something important for fans, I think, that we're really trying to achieve that. So I won the part of Doctor Doom, and the rest is definitely history to this day where we're still talking about it, and it's achieved a kind of cult status, that this film is still much beloved of the fans.
I mean, until the newest one, and even still, it was considered the best of the Fantastic Four films like to date. And I'm really glad it got to see the light of day, because there was a point in time where they were saying that no movie ever existed, even though you guys obviously had filmed a movie, and then it finally got leaked and people knew it was a real movie. But what was it like working with Roger Corman? Did you get a chance to meet him on set?
I met Roger at least, I'm sure, once or twice. It wasn't a big memorable meeting. He was around. He was the godfather of all low budget independent filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
And he he certainly gave us his blessing. And I was kind of tickled because I'm a huge, cinephile and movie buff, and I grew up on watching old Roger Corman movies, Attack of the Crab Monsters and whatever, these all the Edgar Allan Poe, all that stuff. I'm a huge fan of all that. So for me, it was fun that we were, working for Roger finally, that was going to be part of my career story. I worked for Roger Corman, and in fact, it became the film I'm most known for.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I really liked it when I finally got to see it. I watched it on YouTube again a few years back. It's been since removed from YouTube, but I hope to one day get a copy. I wish Marvel would release it at this point, because it is so infamous.
Well, that's a big point of speculation. Is when, for me, it's not I wish, it's when.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, and I don't know if some of your viewers might know this, I actually went ahead and in the last year or so launched a campaign on change.org to say, 30 years, the time has come. This is no longer a secret. It is a film that exists. It's part of film history. And in no way does it compromise anything about the MCU or any version. There's been 4 versions now of the Fantastic Four. In no way does it take anything away from that. It's simply, and yet it has a huge fan base. I would venture into the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. People know about this movie. They want to see it as a part of the historic kind of journey of the Fantastic Four. So we released that campaign, and many people have signed it. It's out there. And it was not too long after that campaign was released. There were dozens of articles out there about the original film, about what happened, about, hey, why can't Marvel and or Disney release that now? Put it on Disney Plus, and we'll see it, and people can watch it, and we could remaster it. We could improve some things about it, and people could enjoy it. So I'm still very, very behind this cause to see the Fantastic Four released, and I consider it, a piece of film history now, and therefore, why should it be relegated to obscurity? It's not. It's out there. Been on YouTube for years. It'll be there again. So we'll see. And in the last film, First Steps, as you probably know, the original 4 from our film got cameos in Fantastic Four: First Steps. Why? Because the producer and director said, this was a great film. They went on record. We watched it several times.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to even capture some of what they were doing in that first film about the family sense, the sense of character and connection. And we think we want to honor this film. And they invited the four to come in and do cameos in the movie. It was like a real blessing all these years later. Like, there it is, you know? So Marvel embraced the original Fantastic Four film. And now I think and now we're going to have Doomsday and Secret Wars, where Dr. Doom is out there. So, you know, at this point, it's, to me, almost, I don't know how to say it, like academic, like it needs to get released so that, you know, more people can share in the fun of that first movie.
I mean, what a cool special feature would it have been to have the original Fantastic Four movie on the Blu-ray for first steps. Like, that's what I was saying when, like you said, they got cameos in the new film. Like, let's go. Come on, guys. Let's get Joseph Culp in Secret Wars also as a Doctor Doom variant. Let's go.
Why not? Why not? Absolutely.
Well,
anything can happen. Anything can happen, Jason. Anything can happen.
Yeah, we live in a wild time, especially in films with what's going on with Marvel right now. It's all so much fun. So tell me, what was it like working on Mad Men?
Mad Men. That's the other thing that I'm often associated with. Yes, I played Archie Whitman, the father of Don Draper. That was a lot of fun. I got to play a very ornery, alcoholic farmer who is at the very root of Don Draper's issues as a man, and you know, the part of him that he would rather live down. That in fact he was perhaps sired by his father and a prostitute during the Depression, and you know, there was some kind of shame that he was always living in. So I got to be that key figure. It was great. I liked working with Matt Weiner, the creator and producer. A lot of wonderful actors. And yeah, I got to kind of show my sort of rough farmer side of myself and get kicked in the face by a horse at the end, which was, you know, kind of an interesting experience. A lot of prosthetics on that, all for one shot where he's got a big, you know, horseshoe in his face. It was a good time. I was happy to be part of that very special show, kind of a breakthrough show too. You know, that show, which I guess premiered on, it was AMC, who had not done a series up till that point. That was a big risk that they took, saying, you know, what, and I guess that was the only place that Matt Weiner would make a deal with him, because I guess HBO, who did The Sopranos, he was associated with The Sopranos, they wouldn't go for it. And it broke a lot of rules. It was retro, historic, this whole vibe about the cool 60s, you know, advertising world. You know, after it kind of broke the mold, and then a lot of people imitated that in with other shows. So it was very special, and I'm very proud to be associated with it. Yeah.
I know every role is special, but do you have a favorite role that you've done so far?
Do I have a favorite role? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, every role you try and do something different. You know, I do as much as I can every time. I guess, you know, the role I think that was my very favorite is in a very little scene independent film that at the moment, actually, I think it's not even available. We're actually working on that because I'm a producer on it too. I would say that film, you can look it up on IMDb. It's called Hunger, and it was made. I think the release date was 2007, but I think it says 2001 on IMDb. So it was a film that I made with a dear friend of mine, a director named Maria Geiss, who wrote it, and we produced it together. And it's based on a classic Norwegian novel from the 19th century. And it's about an artist who is a writer and who kind of is in this existential spiral going down and down because he's so hungry that he can't write. And yet he only wants to make his living from writing. So he's in this impossible, it's a very famous novel by a guy named Knut Hamsun, who won the Nobel Prize in 1930. And we adapted it for modern day Los Angeles. And I play the same character, but as a screenwriter. And we shot it guerrilla style, like on the streets of Hollywood. And there's trailers that you can find on YouTube, Hunger, the movie trailer, with Joseph Culp. And I'm very proud of that performance. To me, that was like, I pulled everything that I knew into that role as this sort of hapless, very Chaplin-esque character, very Chaplin-like, a bit naive. And he goes through this kind of comedic odyssey as a starving writer. And it's really authentic in many ways, that film. So that one, and then my film that I directed called Welcome to the Men's Group. I play a character in that I wrote it, I directed it, and I'm in it. And that one is very personal to me. And it's about a group of men who come together to talk about their feelings. Yeah. And it's a bit funny, comedic, and gets to be quite serious also, because men are not so good at talking about their vulnerable sides. But the movie, I'm very proud of the movie, and I like my work in that very much. So it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Welcome to the Men's Group.
Awesome. I'm going to check both of those out. Before I let you go, I have to ask about Monster on Netflix because it's such a big show. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah. Ryan Murphy, Monsters. Wow. The Menendez brothers. What a awful, kind of tragic, ugly, salacious, the whole thing. Hey, that was fun. Why was it fun? I got called in to spend some days on a boat with Javier Bardem, wonderful actor, big fan of his. And we got to hang out and work for a few days together. The show was, it really showed the very seamy side of this terrible crime. One of these sociopathic brothers who killed their parents. I remember that story when it happened. I was living in LA when that happened. And I got to play the boat captain who took them out the night before they killed their parents. The father had chartered a boat to hunt fish for sharks. And why? Because he had some client that he wanted to impress, and he had to go on a boat trip with the client. And so he thought, I got to know what I'm talking about. And so the whole family goes out on the boat, and I played the boat captain. And I looked up the testimony of that boat captain. The video is there on Court TV. And I watched him. It's very funny because he chewed gum during his court appearance. And I did it during the show. And the director said, Joseph, the gum, is that, could we do it? Do you mind losing the gum? I said, the real guy actually chewed gum while he was testifying about the boys. And I swear to God, it's wild. Like the guy would go, yeah, I remember we took him out on the charter. And I said, Dad, he's chewing gum in court. And he wore like a Hawaiian shirt, not a tie. But, we're doing the movie version of this. And director says, like, okay, I hear you, but can we just do one without the gum? And I said, of course. And I took it out. And sure enough, that's the takes that they went with. I said, we don't want him chewing gum. It's too weird. It's too strange. But so a little behind the scenes on that. But Javier Bardem was wonderful. And we spent the days huddled on that boat out at sea in, just past LA Harbor there. And it was windy and it was cold out there. So like between takes, we'd be huddled in there telling stories and, hanging out. And I'm like, I'm with Stilgar from Dune, My son will be very excited about that. So very fun show to be part of. And yeah, something I'll always remember.
That's awesome. I didn't know that about the gum. So what's next for you, and where can everybody find you online?
Let's see. What am I doing? At the moment, I'm actually working on a couple of film projects that, I'm a writer and producer also. So, and these are projects that have to do with the history of the Chinese American. And one of them is called Made in America. And we're sort of pulling our forces together on that right now to do a feature and also a series. So I have a lot of hats. So there's Joseph Culp, actor, Joseph Culp, producer, writer, and I even do music when it moves me. So I have a lot of hats that I wear, and right now I'm kind of in producer writer mode. But there's some shows coming up where I may be appearing as an actor as well. So just stay tuned. Go to, I guess, Joseph Culp actor on Instagram, and I usually share things on there that I'm up to.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody, like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll chat soon.
Can I also say one thing?
Yeah.
If you are a fan of Dr. Doom and the Fantastic Four, and yes, this mask was given to me in the last year. It's a replica of the one I wore in the film. And so if you're a fan of Fantastic Four and all things Dr. Doom and of the original 1994 Fantastic Four, here's the plug. Go to change.org. Released the Fantastic Four, 1994, and sign the petition and share it as widely as you can. I think it would be awesome if we got, 10,000 signatures. We're already up to like 7, so if there's a way that you can network that, maximize those signatures, I think that would be a wonderful statement, which is only a percentage of the people that love that movie. And we're going to get it released. That's it.
Awesome. I will have the link for that down below, everybody. Yes, go sign that because I want a copy of it for my collection. Yes, change.org. And again, link will be down below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll chat soon.
And as Dr. Doom would say, here's to the future, my friends.